I don't really feel anxiety or any pressure, even going into things like that anymore because it's like that's how I approach everything.
The Cleveland Browns front office, the national media establishment, and $230 million in guaranteed money have all conspired to make sure Shedeur Sanders never gets a fair shot. That is not a theory. That is the operating reality of Day 17 of Browns training camp. And what happened on that practice field today blew the entire rigged narrative wide open. Shedeur Sanders dropped dimes. Deshaun Watson threw picks. And the people who have spent all summer telling you this competition was already decided are sitting in complete, undeniable, catastrophic silence right now. Welcome back. This is NFL Gossip. And today we are ripping the doors completely off the Deshaun Watson protection racket that the Cleveland Browns establishment has been running since the moment Shedeur Sanders walked through that facility door.
Tomorrow.
And it's truly exciting because they have a different scheme than our defense does. So it's great to get those practice reps in and be able to make it.
Let me set the stakes for every single person watching this video, because I need you to understand exactly what is on the line here. Deshaun Watson is sitting on over $200 million in fully guaranteed money. $200 million, guaranteed, no matter what he does on that practice field. No matter how many interceptions he throws. No matter how many times an undrafted rookie defensive back takes the ball right out of his hands. The money is already locked in. The contract is already signed. And the Cleveland Browns organization, the coaches, the front office, the people who run this team, they have a 9-figure financial incentive to make sure that contract does not look like the most catastrophic mistake in modern NFL history. That is the conversation the establishment does not want you having. That is the frame they have been desperately trying to bury under a mountain of competition is over narratives and media access management. But today, on Day 17 of Browns training camp, the last practice before the joint session against the Buffalo Bills, the tape told the real story. And we are going to document every single frame of it right here, right now, because somebody has to.
I'll say every day of my life is important. Every day is important. I wouldn't say it's a day that's not important, so that's just another day going out there.
Day 17. Shorter practice, players in shorts, no pads. This is Deshaun Watson's domain, right? This is where the veteran, the franchise guy, the man with the fully guaranteed money, is supposed to assert himself and remind everybody why the Browns made that investment. That is the narrative the establishment has been selling. So let's talk about what actually happened. Deshaun Watson threw 2 interceptions. 2. In a shortened, no-contact, shorts-only practice session. The first one came on a rollout to his right, where Watson simply did not complete the throw, did not drive through the ball, did not finish the motion, and Michael Coates, an undrafted free agent who has been making plays throughout this entire camp, came down with it. An undrafted free agent, taking the ball from the man with over $200 million in guaranteed money. In a practice, in shorts. That is the first interception. The second one was arguably worse. Watson tried to go deep to Tyler Wallace. He aired it out, and it was picked off. Just like that. 2 interceptions in a shortened training camp practice, where there is no pass rush, no real defensive pressure, no game speed consequence to any of it. And the man who is supposed to be the unquestioned starter, the man whose job security was never in jeopardy according to the establishment, threw 2 picks in shorts. Now let me tell you what Shedeur Sanders was doing at the exact same time. 17 completions on 25 attempts. 68% completion rate. 3 touchdowns. 3. He drove the offense down the field in the 2-minute drill, converting multiple third downs and a 4th and long after being behind the sticks. He found Jerry Jeudy in the end zone, with a perfect spiral, a throw so clean, so precisely placed, that Jeudy had no excuse for what he did next, which was drop it. The ball hit Judy's hands, it was a touchdown. Shedeur put it right there. And the only reason it did not count was because of the receiver, not the quarterback. When you account for that drop, Shedeur Sanders had 4 touchdown opportunities on the day. 4. The man is operating at a level that the establishment absolutely refuses to acknowledge, because acknowledging it would collapse the entire $200 million narrative they have been protecting. And here is the part that makes the blood boil. The same media members, the Zach Jacksons, the Darrell Reuters, the Brandon Fays of the world, who showed up to practice every single day and told you that Dillon Gabriel looked like the best quarterback on the roster. Dillon Gabriel never got 1 first-team repetition, not 1. He threw picks with the second and third-team units. He completed 2 of his 6 passes. The media was selling you Dillon Gabriel as a threat to Shedeur Sanders, when Gabriel never even took a snap with the ones. That is not analysis. That is a deliberate, ruthless, baffling misdirection campaign designed to make you look anywhere except at the actual evidence sitting right in front of your face. Don't take my word for it. Listen to Shedeur himself describe exactly how he approaches every single day of this competition, including the days when the entire establishment is lined up against him.
I don't really feel anxiety or any pressure, even going into things like that anymore, because it's like, that's how I approach everything.
He said it, with cameras rolling. I don't really feel anxiety or any pressure going into things like that anymore, because that's how I approach everything. That is not a young quarterback who is rattled by the weight of the moment. That is not a man who is cracking under the pressure of $200 million in guaranteed money standing between him and a starting job. That is a man who has locked in, zeroed out the noise, and decided that every single day is another opportunity to prove what he already knows about himself. And what he proved on day 17 is that the narrative the establishment has been selling you is built on sand. Let me walk you through the 4 most damning dimensions of what happened today, because this story goes much deeper than one practice session. The first dimension is the tactical reality of what Deshaun Watson's 2 interceptions actually reveal. This was not a game. This was not a preseason contest. This was a controlled, shortened, no-pads training camp practice where the quarterback knows the defensive scheme, knows the personnel, has had 17 days of repetition with these routes and these concepts. And in that environment, the most favorable possible environment for a veteran quarterback, Deshaun Watson threw 2 interceptions. The first to an undrafted free agent on a rollout. The second on a deep shot to Tyler Wallace that was simply not on target. These are not aberrations. These are not flukes. These are symptoms of a quarterback who, by every observable measure, is not performing at the level that $200 million in guaranteed money implies he should be performing at. The establishment will tell you that Watson is comfortable, that Watson is relaxed, that Watson knows his spot is secure. And that is precisely the problem. A quarterback who is comfortable and relaxed, and knows his spot is secure, in a situation where he is throwing 2 interceptions in a shortened practice, is not a quarterback who is being held to any meaningful standard. He is a quarterback who is being protected by the financial structure of his own contract. The second dimension is the pattern that has been building across all 17 days of this camp. We were told before camp began that this was a legitimate competition. We were told that Shedeur Sanders would have a real opportunity to earn the starting job. And then, day after day, the establishment found new ways to manage the narrative. They elevated Dillon Gabriel in the press. They had media members who attend practice every single day, suggesting that Gabriel, who never once took a first-team repetition, was the most impressive quarterback on the roster. Think about what that tells you. The establishment was so desperate to redirect attention away from Shedeur Sanders that they were willing to hype a third-string quarterback who was throwing picks with the threes as a credible threat to the starting job. That is not journalism. That is narrative management. That is the establishment doing everything in its power to make sure that the conversation never lands on the one place it absolutely should be landing, on the undeniable, mathematical, surgical reality that Shedeur Sanders has been the most productive quarterback in this competition, when you look at the actual numbers. The third dimension is the enabler complicity. Todd Haley, the head coach managing this process, has been running a structure that, by every observable measure, gives Deshaun Watson every possible advantage. Watson gets the first-team reps. Watson gets the primary receiving options. Watson gets the benefit of the doubt on close calls. And when the 2-minute drill ended with a disputed out-of-bounds call that should have ended Watson's drive, the ruling went in Watson's favor and he got his field goal anyway, off a pass interference penalty. A win is a win, sure. But when the system is structured to give one quarterback every possible advantage, and that quarterback still throws 2 interceptions in a shortened practice, while the other quarterback goes 17 for 25 with 3 touchdowns, the enabler complicity becomes impossible to ignore. The people who run this competition have built a framework designed to produce a predetermined outcome, and Shedeur Sanders is out there every single day dismantling that framework one completion at a time. The fourth dimension, and this is the one that should make every single person watching this video genuinely furious, is the cost to Shedeur Sanders himself. Last year, people assumed he would never get to play meaningful snaps. They were wrong. He won the most games of any Browns quarterback. He broke multiple Browns records. He did it against all of it, against the doubt, against the institutional resistance, against the weight of an organization that had a financial incentive to make sure he did not succeed. And now, heading into the joint practice against the Buffalo Bills, one of the most complete defensive units in the entire league. Shedeur Sanders is being asked to be perfect. Not good, not competitive, perfect. Because the margin of error he is allowed is smaller than Deshaun Watson's, smaller than Dillon Gabriel's. The establishment has set a standard for Shedeur Sanders that it has never once applied to the man holding $200 million in guaranteed money. And Shedeur Sanders has responded to that impossible standard by going out on day 17 and throwing the ball at 68% with 3 touchdowns. Now let's talk about the Buffalo Bills joint practice. Because this is where the entire narrative either cracks completely or gets papered over by the establishment one more time. The structure of tomorrow's practice has been confirmed. Both Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson will each get a set of 5 plays with the first team against Buffalo's defense. 5 plays, that is the window, that is the audition. And the Bills are not a soft defensive unit. They are a legitimate, well-coached, scheme-diverse defense that will show Shedeur Sanders looks he has not seen from the Browns' own defense all camp. Different keys, different structures, different coverages, the kind of environment that separates the quarterbacks who have actually been processing and learning from the ones who have been coasting on institutional protection. And here is what the establishment does not want you to think about when it comes to Shedeur Sanders and the Buffalo Bills specifically. He has history with this team. Rushing history. He has shown the ability to extend plays, pick up first downs with his legs, keep drives alive in ways that pure pocket passers cannot. The Bills know this. They will be scheming for it. Which means that tomorrow, in those 5 first-team plays, Shedeur is going to have to win with his arm, with his pre-snap reads, his processing speed, his ability to go through progressions against a defense specifically designed to take away what he does best. And that is a test that the establishment is hoping he fails. Because if he passes it, if he goes out there against Buffalo's first-team defense and operates cleanly, efficiently, and decisively, the narrative collapses entirely. The competition is overcrowded, has nowhere left to go. Here is exactly what Shedeur said when he was asked how he feels about facing the Bills tomorrow. And I want you to listen to this carefully, because this is not the answer of a man who is feeling the pressure. This is the answer of a man who understands exactly what this moment is and has already decided how he is going to approach it.
Tomorrow.
And it's truly exciting because they have a different scheme than our defense does. So it's great to get those practice reps in and be able to make it.
It's truly exciting because they have a different scheme than our defense does. So it's great to get those practice reps in and be able to make it feel as close as possible to the game. He said it. No anxiety, no hesitation, no manufactured bravado. Just a clear-eyed, surgical understanding of what the joint practice actually offers him. Real looks against a real defense in a real competitive environment. That is the mindset of a starting quarterback. That is the mentality of a man who is not rattled by the moment. And the establishment desperately does not want you to sit with that for a second. Because the moment you do, the entire competition is over narrative they have been selling you since the first day of camp becomes completely and utterly indefensible. Let me give you my staked predictions for what happens next, because this story is not over, not even close. Prediction 1. The joint practice against the Buffalo Bills is going to be the most important single session of this entire training camp. And Shedeur Sanders is going to use his 5 first-team plays to make a statement that the establishment cannot paper over. The Bills' defensive scheme is different enough from what Shedeur has been seeing all camp that it will actually work in his favor, because he has been processing, studying, and preparing for exactly this kind of test. The man who goes out there and converts in those 5 plays is going to own the next 24 hours of the news cycle. And I believe that man is Shedeur Sanders. Prediction 2. Deshaun Watson's 2 interceptions from day 17 practice will be quietly buried by the establishment media. You will not see those plays highlighted on the major networks. You will not see a serious analytical conversation about what those 2 picks reveal about Watson's current operational level. The narrative management machine will minimize it, contextualize it, explain it away. Because the alternative, honestly accounting for what those 2 interceptions mean in the context of a $200 million guaranteed contract, is a conversation that the establishment has never been willing to have and will not start having now. Prediction 3. The preseason game against the Buffalo Bills on Saturday is going to force the Browns' hand in a way that the controlled practice environment never could. In a real game, with real stakes, with real consequences, the tape becomes undeniable. And if Shedeur Sanders performs in that game the way he has been performing throughout this camp, 68% completion rate, 3 touchdowns, taking care of the football, operating efficiently under pressure. Then the competition is over crowd is going to have to answer for every single thing they said all summer. Every dismissal, every misdirection, every time they pointed you at Dylan Gabriel instead of looking at the man who was actually producing. Prediction 4. Shedeur Sanders is going to start meaningful games for the Cleveland Browns this season. The establishment does not want to say it. The national media does not want to write it. The people protecting $200 million in guaranteed money do not want you thinking about it. But the tape is the tape. The numbers are the numbers. 17 completions on 25 attempts, 3 touchdowns, a 68% completion rate on day 17 of training camp, the last practice before the joint session, in a shortened workout against a defense that knows exactly what he is trying to do. And on the other side of that ledger, 2 interceptions from the man the establishment insists is the unquestioned starter. There is one more thing I need you to hear before we close this out, because the establishment's entire case rests on the idea that Shedeur Sanders feels the weight of this moment. That the pressure of the competition, the pressure of the $200 million obstacle, the pressure of the national narrative, all of it, is eventually going to crack him. That he is going to make the mistake that proves the establishment right. And here is what Shedeur Sanders said, in his own words, when he was asked directly about the importance of tomorrow's practice. Here is the clip that nobody in the establishment media is playing for you right now. Here it is in full, with no edit.
I'll say every day of my life is important. Every day is important. I wouldn't say it's a day that's not important, so that's just another day going out there.
I say every day of my life is important. Every day is important. I want to say it's a day that's not important. So that's just another day going out there doing what I got to do, honestly. Let me say that back to you so you do not miss what just happened. Shedeur Sanders, the man the establishment has spent all summer trying to bury, trying to redirect attention away from, trying to replace in the conversation with a third-string quarterback who never took a single first-team rep. That man looked into the camera and told you that every single day is important to him. Not just the big days, not just the joint practices and the preseason games. Every single day. That is not anxiety. That is not pressure. That is a man who has built a standard for himself that is completely independent of what the establishment thinks, what the media says, what $200 million in guaranteed money implies about the pecking order. He goes to work every day, and the results on day 17 of Browns training camp, 17 completions, 3 touchdowns, 68%, are what that standard produces. Deshaun Watson is out there throwing 2 interceptions in shorts. Shedeur Sanders is out there dropping dimes, converting 4th and long in the 2-minute drill, and putting the ball in the end zone 3 times. The tape does not lie. The numbers do not lie. And the establishment's narrative, the one built on $200 million in guaranteed money and 17 days of media management, is cracking at every single seam. Here is the forced choice question for every single person watching this video right now. And I want you to answer this in the comments below. No hedging, no sitting on the fence. After day 17 of Browns training camp, after Shedeur Sanders goes 17 for 25 with 3 touchdowns and Deshaun Watson throws 2 interceptions in a shortened practice, do you believe the Browns start Shedeur Sanders in a meaningful regular season game before Week 6? Yes or no? Drop it below. I want to see where the people who actually watch the tape stand on this, because the establishment has already made their position very clear, and it has nothing to do with what is happening on that practice field. If this video opened your eyes to what is actually going on in Cleveland this training camp, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell, because when the joint practice against the Buffalo Bills drops tomorrow, you are going to want to be the first person to see our breakdown. This is NFL Gossip. We will see you on the other side of the most important practice of Shedeur Sanders' career.